Hello, welcome back to Snacks and Stacks. My name is Cindy and I love to talk about books, TV shows, and movies. And today we're going to do a May wrap-up. Hopefully this will be quick. I usually only talk about my 4 to 5 star reads for the month, and I did read 20 books, but most of them were kind of like clumped together. And yeah, we're also going to talk about TV shows that I've been watching and maybe some movies. I don't think I need to talk about the movies unless you just want to hear me be upset. I will simply say what I tried to watch and how much I didn't like it. So for my books, like I said, I read 20 books. A lot of them were short. I read 8 physical books, 5 for manga, 2 digitally, and 10 by audio. I rated 7 books 5 stars, 1 book 4.5, 6 books 4 stars, 4 books 3.5 stars, and 1 book 2.5 stars. I'm also going to, from now on, stop rating things 0.25 or 0.75. I think it's just making it kind of a clutter, and I may or may not be following in the footsteps of McKenna just because when I was watching her stats video, I was like, that just makes things so much cleaner. So yeah. I will probably be going back and going through my storygraph and either rounding down or rounding up for any of my quarter reviews. I'm just trying to keep things a little more simple. I get to this. Hi. Hello. Do you want to be in the frame? Oh, nope, we're not in the frame. Okay, my dog is right here, so I'm just petting her. She's not quite tall enough to get into the frame, and I have it positioned perfectly so I can still see my phone and my notes, so I can't move her. I can't move it. Sorry. Let's start with some 5-star manga. I read the first 3 volumes of, this is backwards, Fullmetal Alchemist. They're great. This is a story, if you're unfamiliar, about 2 brothers who have alchemical know-how, and they try to perform the taboo of human transmutation, resulting in a loss of a body, leg, and arm. They are on an adventure to get their bodies back to normal. One of the brothers that lost their body, their soul, you find this out very quickly, is attached to this suit of armor. This is a great story of brotherly love, political maneuverings, and like adventure, and I love the way humor is woven throughout. And I've noticed that in the manga, the humor is even funnier than in the anime, which is Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood. There's 2 of them out there. Brotherhood is the one that I've watched and is closely related to the manga. I read books 2 and 3 of Magus of the Library. This, we're following Theo as he works to become a Kafna. He's taking the exam. He's traveling to go take the exam as well. And so we're following him in the little adventure. I love the more educational tone in this, and I like the slow world building that we're getting. Okay, and the next reads that were 4 to 5 stars, of course, is my Hunger Games reread. I am rereading and then reading the prequels. So I officially finished the 3 original Trilogy audiobooks. They were fantastic, and I had a really great time. I still think Hunger Games and Catching Fires are my favorite, and then Mockingjay was just a little bit less. I used to think that Catching Fire was my all-time favorite, but I'm starting to think I like the Hunger Games one a little bit more as I'm older. I don't think I like the 3, love triangle that kind of happens in Catching Fire. My doggy, my doggy. If you don't know anything about the Hunger Games, how could that possibly be? But just in case, it's dystopian America. We are 74 years post the Civil War, and we have the capital and the districts, and to hold the districts accountable, the capital has been holding these Hunger Games, which are like a lottery of children who fight each other to the death. Have you guys Have you ever have it when you start recording, all of a sudden, every form of communication, people need to talk to you. Nobody ever talks to me, which is why I talk to a camera. Okay, anyways. Next, I finished Thunderhead and the Toll in the Arc of the Scythe series. I really loved book 1. I kind of tried my best to read 2 and 3 as close as possible to each other. And I would have to say that my love for this series gradually went down. If you didn't watch my first video about Scythe, it is a post-dystopian world where we have solved we have solved disease and death. And so we have this sentient computer, basically, called the Thunderhead that rules the world. It definitely has themes of mortality, surveillance, and corruption of power. We have the Scythe, which are people who are responsible for keeping the population under control. I thought that the world building and stuff was done really, really well. And in this last book, I think the author is really flexing like his ability to write and write really well in different formats and different ways and still sound like it's all part of the same story. And that I was super impressed by. However, for me, I think I'm more of a character reader. And so the more I was listening or reading, I didn't listen to any of this. So the more I was reading it, the more detached I felt from the characters and the point of the story. And I felt a little bit just like out of it. I didn't feel as emotionally invested in anything, and I felt like it was starting to drag. I will say, if you've ever wanted to watch something similar to the Arc of the Scythe series, I would recommend the show called Persons of Interest. We have some of the same surveillance themes and also just like who deserves to live and who doesn't. In May, I was also super lucky. I got approved for 2 audiobook arcs. And they weren't really arcs, they were books that came out very recently. And so one of them, The Cat Who Saved the Library by Sosuke Natsukawa, I had to then listen to the first book because I didn't realize it was a sequel. And so I listened to both of them and I liked the second one more. In each of these books, we follow a teenage protagonist who loves books because they either grew up in a bookstore or a library, and they both follow a cat into this kind of magical world where they have to save the books. I thought these were written quite simply, and I liked the themes and symbolism throughout. I thought some of them were quite on the nose though, so if you're looking for something that's like very thoughtful, it might not be for you. But I do think that maybe for a younger reader, these would be a lot of fun and also just really accentuate the importance of certain stories. Then I also got approved for Brighter Than Scale, Swifter Than Flame by Neon Yang. And even though I'm rating this as a 3.5, I think it is because it's just kind of short and they try to put a lot into this short little book, but I did really like it. It's a short novella about a masked dragon hunter who gets assigned to a nearby kingdom that actually is rumored to idolize dragons. And so she is there to find out if there is a dragon hiding here, what she should do about it. And in this journey, this kind of like peak of her, not her peak, I don't want to say her peak, but this big turning point in her life, she has to make some decisions. Whereas we watch in the very beginning, we listen to since the beginning how she has been sent to the military and how she does really well there. But from this turning point, we see her make decisions to kind of live her own life. I had a really hard time rating this one, and that's kind of why it's here, because it's 3.5, I think, more critically, but I really did like it. I had it at 3.75, but when I decided to round up or down, I couldn't quite decide. I might actually round it up to a 4. I hate this. I hate it when I can't put it exactly where I want it. And it's hard too because it was an audiobook, so sometimes I'm just listening to it and it goes in and out. And I had like 3 days to listen to it. So yeah, I think it was a really nice little story. There is a sapphic romance in there that doesn't feel as developed, but it's there because it's such a short story. I really wish this was longer. I think if it had more time to marinate and become a bigger story, I would have liked it a lot more. Then I got really lucky and Libby was like, hey, Vera Wong's Guide to Snooping is ready for you. And it was ready super early. So I pretty much binge listened to that one. It was a lot of fun. I liked the first one a bit more, but the second one was really great. So Vera is at it again. She spots a shy Millie outside the police station and convinces Millie to share her troubles. Millie shares that her friend Thomas is missing, and when Vera spots his dead body in the police files, which she's not even supposed to look at, she takes on the case to find out what indeed happened. This is great, I think, because if you read book 1, a lot of the characters in there comes up in book 2. The not so great part is, even though I am a fantasy reader and I'm not terrible with a big cast of characters, a lot of these characters got mixed up in my head. I needed a bit of a suspect list. We also had multiple POVs, so sometimes that would help, but sometimes it didn't because some of them sounded very similar. But overall, I did really like it, and I will continue to listen to it if she continues writing them. I read 2 romance books that I really liked. This month, I read 7 Days in June by Tia Williams, or I listened to it. I thought that I was a little surprised by how gritty some of the details were. I definitely would recommend that you look out for trigger warnings if you are sensitive to anything, especially trauma when you're like a teenager. So in high school, Eva and Shane spent a week infatuated with one another, and 15 years later, both have become writers and ended up at the same event. Eva is now divorced and a single mom, and she has a chronic illness, which I think was written so well. And Shane is 2 years sober, and he is kind of mentoring kids right now and teaching writing, and he's found it really hard to write sober. The attraction for the two of them is still there. They kind of hang out, and I love the storyline of how it bounces back and forth between the 7 original days and the 7 new days. I think this is literary romance at its finest. The reason why it is 4 stars instead of 5 is because when I read a romance, I want to be like squealing and excited for the couple, and I want to see them together. I'm basically like a voyeur into cute, sweet things. Like, I just want to watch cute dates. Like I'm kind of creepy, I guess. I want to be like, oh, that's so cute. I'm like, oh, that's so lovely. I want to be swooning. And the reality is the 2 characters had a lot to work through, especially as teenagers. And I think that their initial meeting was actually quite tragic and like a very bittersweet first meeting. And as a story, I think it's lovely. It's just not what I look for in a romance. So I gave it 4 stars. And my 5-star romance read would be Big Fan by Alexandra Romanoff, because that's the type of swooning that I look for. We follow Maya, who is a political strategist, and Maya got put in the spotlight after a very high-profile divorce, and she's trying to get jobs, but also stay under, like, not in the spotlight, whatever that is. And because of that, when she gets contacted by Charlie, I didn't write his name, but I'm pretty sure it's Charlie, who is in the boy band of, like, her favorite boy band as a teenager, and she ran a whole fan club for it. She decides that she can't work for him, but they kind of become friends. And I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's just me reliving, like, my boy band fandom and just being like, oh my god, if one of my boy band crushes like started talking to me, like, how would I act? Like, how would I feel? Don't tell my husband. Just kidding. But like, I don't know. And then the whole idea, like, you know, like, I don't know. I just was squealing. I was reading it and I was squealing, and it's a really short book, and I fell in love. And then I went to the 831 website and like read all the short stories they had of them. So yeah, I was head over heels for this relationship. And last book would be Crying in H Mark by Michelle Zauner. This is a memoir. This is not squealing, not kicking my feet. This was crying in the middle of the night. Like, I miss my dad, I miss my mom. Yeah, I thought this was really well written. It is about Michelle Zauner, who's the lead singer of Japanese Breakfast. It's a pop indie band. I actually did not know about the band, so I'm happy to also have found a new band to listen to. And this is her memoir detailing the grief and also caretaking of her mother when her mom gets cancer. And it's more than that. It's like a whole relationship with your mom. And I found it very interesting. It also touches on a relationship with an Asian mom, possibly an immigrant mom, when you are an American and growing up as an American. Michelle Zauner is also half white, and so she kind of talks a lot about that kind of identity crisis, and she talks a lot about Korean food as well. And so if any of those sound interesting to you, I think it's, normally you'll hear me say, I hate crying in books, I hate when books make me cry, I don't want to be sad, and that's just because after like my dad passed away, which now has been more than 10 years, I still feel grief very tenderly. And it has taken me a long time and a lot of growing up to be like okay with feeling that. But anyways, I found this to be really well written for the most part. The half a star, I feel like an asshole about it, but I felt like parts of this book felt like a recipe book, and I didn't love that. It took me out of the story, and the ending was kind of random. So that's just me being critical, but I did really enjoy the time, and I like stories that make me think about my own life and the relationships that I have, and make me want to be like a better person, a better daughter. So yeah. So now we're actually going to talk about some TV shows. I've started watching season 2 of Apothecary Diaries, and I continue to absolutely love this. If you haven't heard me talk about Apothecary Diaries, I will link where I started talking about them, but it's about a young girl that's got like historical Chinese setting, and this young girl was an apothecary's daughter. She somehow gets kidnapped and starts working in the rear palace of the emperor. They find out that she is smarter than just any regular old servant girl, and she starts solving mysteries. And all the mysteries kind of connect to each other, and there is also a very slow burn romance in there. It's a great series, particularly because Mao Mao is such a great character to follow. I started watching the documentary called Turning Point, the Vietnam War. My sister-in-law talked to me about it, and it seemed really interesting, but it's also very depressing. But my parents are actually from Vietnam, and so I always want to learn more about their history and kind of wanted to watch that and maybe compare things and ask my mom about it. Since as she gets older, she seems to be a little bit more willing to talk about her past. I rewatched all the Hunger Game movies. I think they're great, so we don't have to talk about that. But guys, I watched A Simple Favor because people at work were all raving about it and saying, raving about it. And then they were saying how like the second one was also good. But is it just me? I'm just not a thriller person. I thought it was fine, but I didn't love it. I was like, these people are unhinged and crazy. And is that the point of a thriller? I have a lot of questions. I think I'm going to do a video about my feelings about thrillers and see if any of you can recommend any good thrillers to me. I will say my family book club is going to be reading The Silent Patient, and so hopefully I heard that is a really good thriller. I'm going to listen to it and come back and let you know if that works for me. But I don't know what it is. I was watching it and I was like, what's going on? And some of it just seems so unbelievable and so crazy, which I know is how people view romance. But to me, I'm like, but it's romance, so it's lovely and like so positive. But thrillers, I'm like, we're really just looking at the worst of humanity here. Is this what we're doing? So, I don't know. Yeah. I am overwhelmed by the amount of books I've been reading. So I think hopefully I'm going to slow down, because I said that last month, but then I ended up reading 20 books this month. So we'll see. I hope you guys like this video and subscribe if you continue want to hear about my rantings. Happy reading, happy snacking, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!